Precocious, opinionated, and the bane of Hollywood moguls, Orson Welles once said he thought an artist should always be out of step with his time. That was certainly the case for him, with Citizen Kane taking years to be seen as a masterpiece. Welles burst onto the stage as the enfant terrible responsible for panicking a nation with his legendary 1938 radio dramatization of H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds.
I'm of course surprised that the H.G. Wells classic, which is the original for many fantasies about invasions by mythical monsters from the planet Mars, I'm extremely surprised to learn that a story which has become familiar to children through the medium of comic strips and many succeeding novels and adventure stories should have had such an immediate and profound effect upon radio listeners.
The publicity launched Welles' Hollywood career. RKO signed him to a contract that gave him complete creative control, unprecedented for a first-time director. His first film to come to screen was Citizen Kane, now considered to be one of the greatest movies of all time. Welles wrote, directed, and starred in the film.
A lot of the blue crayon crossing out of dialogue we believe to be Welles himself, because he was known for doing that. And you will see entire passages that are rewritten, again, to sharpen the language, to sharpen the characters. It's great because there's a huge metamorphosis between the first script and the final shooting script. Orson Welles supposedly either gave or lost in a poker game to, or somehow the Oscar went to one of his cinematographers and stayed with him for a number of years. Orson Welles' youngest daughter, Beatrice Welles, in the late 80s, petitioned the Academy to get a replacement Oscar, which they gave her, and at the time she signed an addendum that evidently stipulated that they would have first right of refusal both for the replacement Oscar and for the original. Interestingly enough, in a Sotheby's auction in the 90s, the original came up for sale. Beatrice Welles sued and won and got the original Oscar back, and in 2003 consigned it to Christie's.
But Welles' Oscar for Best Original Screenplay was one of the few accolades the film received at the time of its release. Protagonist Charles Foster Kane was a thinly disguised version of newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst, so the Hearst media empire blackballed the film, severely affecting its profits. Years later, when Citizen Kane was reassessed as a masterpiece, Welles quipped that he started at the top and worked his way down during his film career. Certainly, he never reached the creative heights of his first film, but several of his later efforts were far from contemptible. He was furious when his second film, The Magnificent Ambersons, was taken out of his hands at the editing stage, later failing dismally at the box office. The Stranger came next, with Welles playing a Nazi war criminal hiding in middle-class America. The film noir was his first production to make a profit, but Welles decided Hollywood's success was not for him. This belief was reinforced by the 1948 Columbia Pictures production, The Lady from Shanghai, starring Welles' estranged wife, Rita Hayworth. Studio head Harry Cohn hated the film and ordered extensive changes. Although it did well in Europe, the film flopped in America, and Welles decided his future was on the continent. Despite his undoubted talent as a director, writer, and actor, Welles struggled to raise money to make films. He returned to Hollywood for Touch of Evil in 1958, but again had creative control ripped from his grasp before Final Cut. Welles died in 1985, aged 70, rejected by Hollywood, but revered by film lovers.
Three.